Welcome back to the BetCanada channel. Today, I'm joined by Marcus Mosher, the host of the Locked On Cowboys podcast and writer for the 33rd team. Thanks for joining me, Marcus.
Of course, we need to at least
Yeah.
talk some Cowboys. This is usually the time of year where there's no Cowboys news, so at least we have something to chat about today.
There's something. Okay, let's start with Cowboys free agency. So, this team continues the trend of taking maybe a more conservative approach to free agency spending, even in a year where the salary cap is going up. What stands out to you about what they've done so far or haven't done?
So I think the Cowboys are one of these teams that believes free agency actually starts on Wednesday when the new league starts, rather than on Monday when it's that quote unquote legal tampering or whatever. But at least we've seen them be somewhat active this year. I think the problem is they told their fans going into free agency, hey, we're going to be selectively aggressive. You're going to see us being more aggressive than we've been in previous years, and then the Cowboys don't sign anybody in the first 8 hours of free agency, and then their fans freak out. So I understand some of the concerns, some of the worries about where this team is headed this offseason.
What position groups do you think they still need to address? Because there are a few notable ones that stand out to me, but who do you think they should be targeting right now?
Well, I thought cornerback was their biggest need going into free agency, and that was with the assumption that Jordan Lewis, their starting nickel cornerback,
Yep.
would return. I just didn't have any doubt that the Cowboys would figure out a way to bring him back, but instead, he goes to Jacksonville within the first 30 minutes of free agency. Jacksonville makes him the highest paid slot corner in the league, and all of a sudden, the Cowboys now have two holes at cornerback. They needed a starting outside corner. Now they need a starting slot corner. And as of this recording, most of the top free agent cornerbacks are already off the board. I think that's a spot that they have to sign at least two players before we get to the draft. Another spot is the linebacker position.
Mhm.
DeMarvion Overshown, their outstanding linebacker, hurt. He has a significant knee injury. He's likely to be out past Thanksgiving. Eric Kendricks is a free agent. I would assume that they're going to have to sign somebody there. And then there's just positions all over the board: quarterback, wide receiver, defensive tackle, edge rusher. This team needs a lot, and they haven't done much yet.
Maybe even interior defensive line, even with the moves they've made. There's so many holes I see on this team. Let's talk about receiver.
Yeah.
What do they do? Is it free agency? Is it the draft? There's still some names available, but it's a lot of the big names just aren't there right now. They
I,
might have been if you look at the list for 3 years ago, they were big names, but
I think they're just praying that CD Lamb stays healthy because I don't know. I think there's a chance that the Cowboys just go into the draft with the receivers they have now, which is CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Tolbert, Jonathan Mingo, who they traded a fourth round pick for last year. They did re up Kavontae Turpin, their special teamer, who played more on offense last year. Maybe they just roll with those guys going into the draft. And I do think they could draft a receiver in round one or round two. But I do think this is a team that desperately needs something else on offense. They had Brandon Cooks last year. He got hurt. Could they be in the market for a DeAndre Hopkins type or maybe even an Amari Cooper reunion? I think that would make sense. Too much of this offense is built around CeeDee Lamb and him staying healthy. I would love to see them grab at least one more veteran receiver to kind of round out this roster.
do you think there could be any big surprises coming for this team? Or is this just a situation where nothing really surprises you anymore with
Well,
Jerry Jones?
that's part of it. Yes, nothing really surprises. Here's my thing. I think if the Cowboys are going to make a big move, it probably won't be in free agency. They just really haven't been big players in free agency over the last decade. The last player that they signed to a contract, an outside free agent, worth more than $6 million a year, was Greg Hardy in 2015, and the salary cap has since gone up 136 million. So they just don't participate in free agency. That's not their philosophy. Now, that doesn't mean you can't build a really good team. You can draft really well. And one of the things that we have seen the Cowboys do is make trades, whether it's the Amari Cooper trade or Robert Quinn or Stephon Gilmore or Brandon Cooks. Like, they're going to be active in the trade market. If they're going to get better, I think that's the way they do it, not free agency.
Oh man, this team.
It's
I'm not even a
depressing. I
Cowboys
know. I,
fan.
I I wish I could deliver better news to get Cowboy fans excited. But this is just the reality. They are very much in this situation where they are a very star heavy team. CeeDee
Mhm.
Lamb, Dak Prescott, Micah Parsons, and the middle of the roster is just pretty bleak right now where we're
Yeah.
at.
Not necessarily a wide-ranging middle class for that
No.
team. Which move by the Cowboys so far do you think is the highest risk reward? Or
Well,
is
Javonte Williams, the running back they signed from Denver, I was hoping the Cowboys would bring back Rico Dowdle. I thought Dowdle played really well for
Yep.
them last year. He was top 5 in rushing yards among all running backs in the second half of the year, but they thought that Rico was going to get too much money in free agency.
Mhm.
We'll see what he signs for, but Javonte Williams is a former second round pick who looked really good in 2021 before tearing his ACL in 2022. We'll see if he has any juice left. I'm not very optimistic, but if the Cowboys aren't able to find that franchise running back in the draft and they're rolling with Javonte Williams and Deuce Vaughn at running back, it could be pretty rough in this offense. However, I expect them to draft a running back fairly early here.